So let's start out with our people component here. I'm going to separate this out a little bit. So I'm going to call this mapStateToProps. Again, I couldn't do this when everything was in one file because I would have a lot of mapStateToProps. So here's our mapStateToProps. And very often this is dried out a little bit and really done on one line. By going in here, you have to be careful with your blocks. You really need to put these in parentheses. But literally, you could say, I want this to just return people. And here's your mapStateToProps. And what we could end up doing over here is that I could now say, hey, look, people equals connect mapStateToProps. And this is going to be people. And let's just make sure that this ended up building. Looks like it did. Cannot access people before initialization. So yeah, I made a mistake here. This is underscore people. And if we're on people, this works the same way. Let's also do one other thing here. And really, I'm going to cheat a little bit because our home really has the same thing. The only difference is that this is going to be called home. And this is home. All I've done is just separated out my mapStateToProps. And this should end up working the same way. And what I want to point out here is that instead of having add random person do dispatching directly, which is fine if it is, very often what you'll do is you'll end up having what's called an action creator. So instead of this actually dispatching to the store, what this will end up doing is it'll end up returning an action creator. Meaning, not returning an action creator, it's an action creator in the sense of what this is going to end up doing is that this is going to be an action that we're going to end up dispatching. And people debate what the what the advantage is here. But one of the things that this allows you to do is that if we take a look at our mapStateToProps, there's also a mapDispatchToProps. And what this will end up getting passed is the dispatch method. And I'm going to actually put this on 2 lines here so we could see it a little bit better. By the way, if you don't return anything here and you try to use this, and I go over here and I refresh this, and I think, let me make sure I'm on my people here. And I refresh this, I'll get this error, hey look, this is a warning, you need to send back an object. Well, very often in mapDispatchToProps, you also return an object. Now I could call this whatever I want to. All right, I'm going to make it an underscore just so you could see the difference, but I actually don't even really have to. What I'm going to do here is that when this ends up getting called, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dispatch. So dispatch is a dispatch that's passed to me from the store. Add random person is a method that ends up returning to me an action creator. Now, once I end up going, this is a very common error now, if I end up going over to people and I add here, nothing happens. And the reason why nothing is happening is that this is now just an action creator. It's not dispatching anything. And what this allows me to do is to be a little bit more explicit about what's being passed in here. If I look at this component, I could say, hey, look, these are all the things that are being passed in here. And you could call this add random person. And if I run this now, and let me do one other thing here. And again, if this had some state to it with a form where you were filling in some information on a person, you would end up sending that back here. But now, when I dispatch, and let's just make sure actions can't have an undefined type, so let's just go back to my store and make sure that I'm returning. So one thing that I forgot here is that this is going to be, I made a little bit of a mistake, this is going to be the person, but the action itself is going to be of type, and I'm going to use my constant, add person, and this is going to be the person that gets sent. And now this will work, but it's not going to quite work on the other page. Let's just go through this process one more time. We've got it working with people. I just want to show you one other thing. Nothing prevents me, because this returns an object. So sometimes this bothers people, but this object has this key. This key is going to call this method. And I really don't need the underscore. If it helps you, that's great. But this will end up working, at least on the people page, without the underscore. And I'm going to cheat a little bit over here. I'm going to go to my home. And I'm really going to end up using the same mapDispatchToProps here. Make sure you pass it in here. And we're going to end up passing in add random person. So again, it makes it very explicit as to, hey, look, here's the component. This is what's being passed in here. And there's some other advantages to it as well. But really what it allows us to do is, instead of really ever having to import the store or use the store anywhere, we have the dispatch method. And the dispatch method is connected to the store. The reason why that's the case is that the store, sometimes people forget this, but the store is connected through the provider. And so connect is aware what its provider is, what its store is. And here, either on home or on people, we could end up incrementing these things.